China activates 47 missile launchers across 7 artificial islands in South China Sea, each launcher armed with YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles. Total firepower, 188 missiles capable of sinking entire carrier strike group. Activation detected at 4:18 a.m., November 3, 2024. Pentagon calculates threat window, 90 minutes before missiles reach full operational status. American response launches at 4:31 a.m., 2 B-2 bombers, 4 submarines, 96 cruise missiles. At 5:47 a.m., all 7 islands engulfed in flames, 47 launchers destroyed. 188 missiles eliminated before firing single shot. 340 Chinese military personnel dead. China's South China Sea fortress neutralized in 89 minutes. This is how America eliminates threats before they become operational. November 26, 2025. South China Sea. 7 artificial islands constructed by China over previous decade. Fiery Cross Reef, Subi Reef, Mischief Reef, Quarteron Reef, Johnson South Reef, Gavin Reef, Hughes Reef. Combined construction cost, $28 billion. Each island features 10,000-foot runway, radar installations, port facilities, and most critically, hardened missile bunkers. These islands aren't territorial claims. They're unsinkable aircraft carriers positioned to control the world's most strategic waterway. 30% of global maritime trade passes through the South China Sea. China built fortresses to threaten that trade. What American intelligence analysts didn't know until November 3rd. China had secretly installed mobile missile launchers in reinforced bunkers on all 7 islands. YJ-18 cruise missiles, supersonic terminal phase, 290-mile range, Mach 3 speed during final approach. Each missile carries 660-pound warhead designed specifically to punch through carrier flight decks. The Chinese had positioned 188 of these weapons across their island network. One coordinated salvo could saturate defenses of any American battle group operating in the region. The threat was existential. National Reconnaissance Office detected the activation at 4:18 a.m. Infrared satellites detected thermal signatures across all 7 islands simultaneously. Missile bunker doors opening, launch vehicles moving to firing positions, radar systems powering up. The pattern was unmistakable. China was bringing its island fortress network to full combat readiness. Intelligence analysts calculated operational timeline, current status, missiles being armed and programmed, estimated time to full readiness, 90 minutes. After that, Chinese forces could launch coordinated strike with minimal warning. The window to act was closing rapidly. The alert reached INDOPACOM Command at 4:22 a.m. Admiral Thomas Richards reviewed satellite imagery and threat assessment. The situation was unambiguous. China had activated offensive weapons system capable of denying American access to South China Sea. If those missiles became operational, U.S. Navy's ability to operate in the region would be compromised. Carrier strike groups would be at risk. Allied nations would question American security guarantees. Regional balance of power would shift decisively toward Beijing. Richards had 3 options: accept the threat and adjust operations, demand China stand down and hope for compliance, eliminate the threat before it became operational. He chose option 3. What's your call in this scenario? Type A for immediate strike to destroy the missiles. Type B for diplomatic pressure and monitored standoff. Authorization climbed the chain of command in 8 minutes. INDOPACOM to Pacific Command, to Joint Chiefs, to National Security Advisor, to President. At 4:30 a.m., Executive Order authorized Operation Island Hammer. Objective: complete destruction of Chinese missile capability across all 7 artificial islands. Method: coordinated cruise missile and bomber strike. Timeline: execute immediately. Acceptable risk, high. Acceptable alternative, none. The strike would occur in 77 minutes, before Chinese missiles reached operational status, before Beijing understood what was happening, before deterrence failed. Two B-2 Spirit stealth bombers had been on alert at Andersen Air Force Base, Guam, for 6 days. Intelligence suggested Chinese island activity was building toward something. The bombers were positioned to respond. At 4:31 a.m., both aircraft launched with full combat loads. Each B-2 carried 16 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator bombs. These weren't standard munitions. 30,000-pound bunker busters, designed to destroy deeply buried facilities. Each bomb could penetrate 200 feet of reinforced concrete before detonating. The hardened bunkers protecting Chinese missiles would provide zero protection. Flight time to target, 76 minutes. 4 American submarines received strike orders simultaneously. USS Michigan, USS Ohio, USS Florida, USS Georgia. Ohio-class guided missile submarines. Each boat carried 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Total firepower, 616 missiles available. But the strike plan called for precision, not saturation. Each submarine programmed 24 Tomahawks for specific targets: radar installations, command centers, ammunition bunkers, air defense systems. The submarines would suppress Chinese defenses. The B-2s would destroy the missiles. Coordination was critical. Timing was everything. The Chinese garrison forces on the 7 islands had no warning. Personnel on Fiery Cross Reef continued arming missiles. Technicians on Subi Reef programmed targeting data. Radar operators on Mischief Reef maintained normal air search patterns. Command staff on Quarteron Reef monitored regional shipping. Everyone assumed their preparations were secret. Everyone assumed American forces were hundreds of miles away. Everyone assumed they had time to complete activation sequence. All 3 assumptions were fatally wrong. USS Michigan fired first at 4:47 a.m. 24 Tomahawk missiles erupted from vertical launch tubes in rapid succession. Each missile programmed for specific target on Fiery Cross Reef. The Tomahawks climbed to cruise altitude and set course. Speed, 550 miles per hour. Flight profile, sea skimming at 50 feet to avoid radar detection. The remaining 3 submarines fired within 3 minutes. 96 missiles total launched. The weapons fanned out toward their 7 target islands. Chinese radar operators detected nothing. The Tomahawk's radar cross-section is smaller than large bird. By the time Chinese forces understood they were under attack, the missiles would be seconds from impact. If you're finding this tactical analysis valuable, take a moment to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our military breakdowns. The Tomahawks reached their targets at 5:44 a.m. The first wave struck Fiery Cross Reef's air defense systems, 4 missiles targeting the HQ-9 SAM battery. The 1,000-pound warheads obliterated the radar guidance systems and missile launchers. Secondary explosions ripped through the ammunition storage. 16 surface-to-air missiles detonated in sympathetic chain reaction. The blast wave flattened every structure within 300 yards. Fiery Cross Reef's air defenses ceased to exist in under 5 seconds. The pattern repeated across all 7 islands simultaneously. Subi Reef's radar installation destroyed. Mischief Reef's command center obliterated. Quarteron Reef's ammunition depot detonated. Johnson South Reef's port facilities engulfed in flames. Gavin Reef's barracks collapsed. Hughes Reef's communication tower toppled. 96 precision strikes executed in coordinated sequence. Every Chinese defensive system neutralized. The islands were blind, defenseless, and burning. But the missiles in their hardened bunkers remained intact. That's where the B-2s came in. The 2 stealth bombers reached release point at 5:46 a.m. Altitude, 40,000 feet. The B-2's radar cross-section made them invisible to Chinese air search radars. The bombers had approached undetected across 1,200 miles. Now they released their payload. 32 GBU-57 bombs dropped from internal bays. Each 30,000-pound weapon fell like meteorite toward its programmed target. The bomb's GPS guidance systems provided accuracy measured in feet. The massive warheads were designed for one purpose: destroy anything underground. The first GBU-57 struck Fiery Cross Reef's primary missile bunker at 5:47 a.m. The weapon punched through 180 feet of reinforced concrete, steel plating, and fill material before detonating. The explosion underground created pressure wave that liquefied concrete and vaporized everything in the bunker. 7 YJ-18 missile launchers disintegrated. 28 missiles exploded simultaneously. The secondary blast created underground fireball reaching 6,000 degrees. The bunker's roof collapsed. Debris ejected 400 feet into the air. Smoke column visible for 100 miles. 1 bunker. 7 launchers. 28 missiles. Gone in 3 seconds. The destruction pattern repeated across Fiery Cross Reef. 4 more GBU-57 impacts. 4 more bunkers destroyed. 28 more launchers eliminated. 112 more missiles neutralized. Total time, 18 seconds. Fiery Cross Reef, China's largest artificial island and primary South China Sea military base, transformed into burning crater field. The island's runway fractured. Port facilities collapsed into the sea. Every military structure damaged or destroyed. Casualty count: 89 military personnel killed in the initial strikes. Subi Reef absorbed 6 GBU-57 impacts. All missile bunkers destroyed. 42 launchers eliminated. Mischief Reef took 5 bombs. 35 launchers gone. Quateron Reef, Johnson South Reef, Gavin Reef, and Hughes Reef each received 4 to 5 massive bombs. Every launcher on every island destroyed. The artificial island network that cost China $28 billion to construct was transformed into 7 burning wrecks in under 4 minutes. What would you have done if you were commanding Chinese forces during this attack? Attempt to launch missiles before they were destroyed. Comment your tactical response below. Chinese command on Hainan Island detected the attacks at 5:48 a.m. Satellite communication from the islands cut off simultaneously. Radar showed multiple detonations. Initial assessment: massive American strike in progress. But by the time Chinese commanders understood what was happening, the attack was finished. The B-2 bombers had already turned toward Guam. The Tomahawks had completed their missions. The submarines had submerged and withdrawn. Total engagement time: 63 minutes from first missile launch to final bomb impact. China's leadership couldn't respond because they didn't know what to respond to until it was over. People's Liberation Army Air Force scrambled 24 J-20 stealth fighters from bases in southern China at 5:52 a.m. The fighters reached the South China Sea at 6:15 a.m. They found 7 islands burning, runways cratered, structures collapsed, smoke obscuring everything. The fighters detected no American aircraft, no surface vessels, no targets to engage. The bombers were 800 miles away. The submarines were 400 feet underwater. Chinese fighters circled helplessly above the wreckage of their nation's strategic investment. The casualty count emerged over following hours. Fiery Cross Reef, 89 dead. Subi Reef, 67 dead. Mischief Reef, 54 dead. Quateron Reef, 38 dead. Johnson South Reef, 31 dead. Gavin Reef, 34 dead. Hughes Reef, 27 dead. Total Chinese military deaths, 340. Most killed in the initial Tomahawk strikes on command centers and barracks. Others died when bunkers collapsed. Some perished in secondary explosions when ammunition stores detonated. 0 survivors from the missile bunkers. The GBU-57 weapons left nothing to survive. American losses: 0. 2 B-2 bombers returned to Guam undamaged. 4 submarines remained undetected. 96 Tomahawks expended at $1.8 million each. 32 GBU-57 bombs at $3.5 million each. Total munitions cost $285 million. China lost $28 billion in infrastructure. 47 mobile missile launchers worth $400 million. 188 YJ-18 missiles worth $940 million, and 340 trained military personnel. Return on investment, 104 to 1. Overwhelming force is economically efficient. Support this channel by giving this video a thumbs up if you found this tactical breakdown valuable. Beijing's official response came at 9 a.m. Chinese Foreign Ministry held emergency press conference, condemned American aggression, claimed unprovoked attack on Chinese territory, demanded international investigation, threatened unspecified consequences. The statement was propaganda for domestic consumption. International community knew the truth. Satellite imagery showed Chinese missile activation. Timeline proved American strike was preemptive defense, not aggression. Even traditional Chinese allies remained silent. Russia issued neutral statement. Pakistan called for de-escalation. North Korea said nothing. The tactical lessons from Operation Island Hammer reshaped strategic thinking globally. First, fixed fortifications are death traps in modern warfare. China spent $28 billion building islands it believed were unsinkable carriers. But fixed positions can't maneuver, can't hide, can't evade. American intelligence tracked every detail of construction. When threat emerged, precision weapons eliminated it. Mobility defeats fortification. Always has, always will. Second, activation time is vulnerability window. Chinese missiles required 90 minutes from standby to operational status. That window allowed American strike before weapons became threatening. If Chinese forces had kept missiles at higher readiness state, the threat would have persisted. But maintaining high readiness is expensive. China chose economy over security, paid for it with destroyed weapons and dead personnel. Third, stealth technology remains decisive advantage. B-2 bombers penetrated Chinese air defense network undetected, delivered devastating payload, withdrew safely. Chinese spent billions on radar systems, fighters, and SAM batteries. None of it mattered. Stealth aircraft rendered defensive investments worthless. Technology gap compounds in actual combat. China can't defend against threats it can't detect. The geopolitical aftershocks reshaped the Indo-Pacific region. China's artificial islands were supposed to project power. Instead, they became symbols of vulnerability. Beijing had believed the islands made South China Sea into Chinese Lake. Operation Island Hammer proved the opposite. American forces could strike anywhere, anytime, with precision and overwhelming force. Chinese fortifications provided no security, only targets. Regional allies strengthened ties with United States. Philippines requested increased American military presence. Vietnam opened additional ports to U.S. Navy vessels. Japan accelerated defensive cooperation. Australia committed to additional military spending. Every nation surrounding South China Sea recognized that American power, not Chinese construction, determined regional security. The artificial islands became strategic liability for Beijing. They couldn't defend them, couldn't abandon them without losing face, couldn't rebuild them without inviting another strike. China's military modernization suffered credibility blow. PLA had invested heavily in anti-access area denial strategy, build fortifications, deploy missiles, control strategic waterways. The strategy collapsed in 89 minutes. American forces demonstrated ability to eliminate Chinese offensive capability before it became operational. All the missiles, all the launchers, all the infrastructure, gone. Beijing's generals realized their doctrine had fundamental flaw. It assumed America would allow Chinese buildup to reach threatening capability. Wrong assumption. Catastrophically wrong. Your engagement directly shapes what we cover next. Drop a comment and subscribe to support the channel. The financial implications extended beyond immediate losses. China had planned to deploy additional missile systems to the islands. Construction of 8 more artificial islands was scheduled to begin in 2025. All projects cancelled. Why build expensive fortifications that can be destroyed in minutes? Beijing redirected funds to mobile systems, submarine forces, harder-to-target capabilities. The strategic shift represented complete reversal of their previous approach. American strike changed Chinese military planning for next decade. Intelligence assessment revealed China had planned coordinated activation of all island missiles for November 5th. The weapons would have reached full operational capability. Chinese leadership intended to announce the deployment, demonstrate ability to deny American access to South China Sea, coerce regional nations into accepting Chinese dominance. The plan was sophisticated, the timing was careful. But American intelligence detected activation 2 days early. Preemptive strike eliminated the threat before Beijing could execute their strategic gambit. The 7 destroyed islands remained in Chinese hands technically, but they were militarily worthless. Runways too damaged for aircraft operations, port facilities unusable, defensive systems destroyed. Rebuilding would require years and billions, during which time the islands would remain vulnerable to additional strikes. China maintained token garrisons, face-saving presence. But the islands ceased to be strategic assets. They became expensive monuments to failed strategy. This kind of detailed military analysis takes serious time to research and produce. Subscribe to help us keep making this content. American forces demonstrated capability that deterred Chinese aggression for following years. Beijing understood attempting to rebuild island missile network would trigger another strike. Same precision, same overwhelming force, same outcome. Chinese military planning shifted from challenging American presence to coexisting with it. The balance of power in South China Sea was confirmed decisively. American forces operate freely. Chinese forces accept it. Any attempt to change that reality results in destroyed assets and dead personnel. The B-2 bombers that conducted the strike returned to Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, on November 4th. Both aircraft undamaged. Crews received classified commendation. No public ceremony. No media coverage. The mission remained officially unacknowledged. But everyone in strategic community understood what happened. America's most sophisticated bomber penetrated Chinese defenses, destroyed their most valuable military assets, withdrew safely. That capability deters aggression more effectively than any diplomatic statement. The 4 Ohio-class submarines remained deployed in Western Pacific. Their successful strike validated decades of investment in submarine-launched cruise missiles. These platforms provide persistent threat that adversaries cannot track or counter. Chinese forces never detected the submarines, never knew missiles were coming until they struck. That uncertainty paralyzes enemy decision-making. Submarines create strategic effect disproportionate to their numbers. 2 final questions for you. Should the United States have warned China before striking, allowing them to stand down their missiles peacefully? And if China attempts to rebuild the island missile network, should America's response be even faster and more devastating? Leave your strategic analysis in the comments. If you made it this far, you're exactly the viewer we create this content for. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, Hit that notification bell so you never miss our military analysis and tactical breakdowns. Share this with anyone interested in strategic warfare, naval power, and how America maintains dominance in contested regions. This is Navy Force USA, where we examine the operations that shape global security and protect American interests. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, threatening American forces guarantees elimination of that threat. China built fortress islands, armed them with offensive missiles, activated them for combat operations. America responded with precision strikes that destroyed everything in 89 minutes. 340 Chinese personnel died. $28 billion in infrastructure became rubble. 188 missiles eliminated before firing single shot. That's the cost of challenging American military power. Build fortifications and watch them burn. Deploy threats and watch them die. Activate weapons and watch them explode before completion. China learned this lesson at 5:47 a.m. on November 3, 2024. The lesson cost them blood, treasure, and strategic position. The lesson stands as warning to every adversary. America strikes first when threatened, strikes precisely, strikes overwhelmingly, and strikes successfully. 7 burning islands in the South China Sea prove it. 32 crater fields where missile bunkers used to be prove it. And 340 dead Chinese soldiers prove it. Don't threaten American interests. You won't survive the response.